Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And this is a Northern California edition of my live stream. Back on deck. It's been a while. I think it's been a month, actually. Got some stories to unpack today. Got a new time. Got some dogs in the background. Totally different scene here. But we're going to make it work. It's a bit gloomy out, but I don't feel gloomy. I feel great today. Justin Brown, welcome. Different time, different place, still the same content. Anyone out there that's been on my live stream before or followed the show, it's going to be more regular now. What I mean by that about the time zone difference in California. And so if you like to follow the live streams, please leave a message in the notes below of a time that you think would be great. I know that I was a late night person before, but I'm actually a morning person. So I think I'm going to be running this between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. Pacific time. So G Money. Much love to you too, my friend. It's been a while, as the great song went. So it's going to be a little different. You know, like I said, I actually have a sport coat on because I'm actually cold. There's no banana trees in the background. Like I said, it's a gloomy, cold day. I've been freezing coming back from Thailand. So if you're new to the show or the channel, please send your story into writemac.com, WRITEMAC.com. If you want to talk about your breakup, go to writemac.com. But if you just want to enjoy hearing these breakup stories and helping me unpack them, dissect them, and just give my take, that's also an option. So I'm going to get into that. Dogs barking and all. Isn't it interesting, you know, where I lived in Thailand, there's a lot of loose dogs, right? There's a lot of dogs that you'd call street dogs, and people just don't bother them. There's no dog catcher there. There's no people calling the police that there's a dog loose. They're fed by merchants and different people. And, you know, coming back to California, there's no dogs on the streets, which is a good thing, right? When you want to go out for a jog, you want to go out for a walk. It's kind of nice that there's not random dogs because people are scared of those. But do you ever wonder why your dog barks so much if you keep him in the house or in the backyard for a long time? Or the idea that how excited a dog is to go on a walk if you keep him in your house or your backyard. It's kind of funny how we treat our pets sometimes. And they're only allowed 1 meal a day to 2 meals a day very strictly. We wouldn't want to overfeed them. It's a very disciplined style of having your pet a lot of times, right? Oh, they only get one walk. I take them out for 1 walk a day. Only 1 bowl, no scraps, right? And then you wonder why they're barking and going nuts all the time. Because they're jailed. All right, Todd Whitmore. It's been a while, my friend. I do remember you. I believe you're Todd. It's Minnesota. I'm not sure. G Money's Ohio. Justin Brown. I'm not sure where you're at, but I appreciate you're on deck. So we're going to get into these breakup stories. I got a few. Like I said, I think I got 4 or 5. Obviously, this is a different time zone, so people aren't used to coming on my live streams at this time. But I'm sure we'll get some people on. Regardless, we're going to unpack these. So, turn down the music real quick. Maybe it's better to have music in the background with these dogs. Hi, Mac. I've watched some of your YouTube videos and thought of sharing what happened to me. Last year in 2020, I started seeing a guy who studies medicine with me in Europe. I'm not going to say the country. We were both foreigners. He is Norwegian. I am British. We are also both in our 30s. He was nice to me at the start of our relationship. And then after the first month of the start of the relationship, he told me he wanted to break up because he was going to Finland to work and because he had a cannabis addiction. So you start the courtship. Let's see here. It's amazing. I get highly distracted by noise in the background here. he was nice to me at the start of the courtship. I would hope so. And then after the first month of relationship, he told me he wanted to break up because he was going he's moving and he has a cannabis addiction. Okay. I thought he wasn't telling me the truth, just wanting to end it. So you thought means I don't know. It's an assumption. It's completely possible within the first month someone does want to break up with you because they're moving. So I know in my own life experience, I've done long distance a few times. I don't really like it. There's a time to try. I would say that if you've only been seeing each other for a month, I don't foresee that being a reason to, if he has no time frame of when he's coming back, then that's not out of order. That's actually being honest. The cannabis addiction, I don't know how deep that is, or the weed addiction. And you could judge that for yourself. Is he saying that he wanted to get over that before he was in a relationship? You don't really state that. But he still kept making excuses to break up. So here's the thing. He's telling you his reasons for breaking up, and you're making them excuses. To me, someone moving to a different country, right, and saying they are addicted to something is a good reason to break up. I don't find that to be an excuse. So I would ask you, why don't you believe him? And then he started to come over again and still see me. This is really horrible, abuseful, and painful relationship lasted for 15 months. So my question is, when you say horrible and when you use the word abuse, are you talking about verbal or physical? Because I do think it's different and it should be stated. Both are bad, and then what are some examples of abuse? Is what I would ask in a live coaching session. What's your definition of that? He had a pattern of putting me down, being a bit racist, and telling me he didn't want to date, and then being physical with me. Okay, so when you say being physical with me, are you meaning intimate? Or are you meaning physical in the sense of abuse? So this is where you need to state these things to get a little bit more clear, because they're two different things. The idea that he was being a bit racist, you need to speak up for yourself, and you need to choose who you hang out with, right? Last month in October, I returned to the country we met in to be being my final year of studies here. His behavior had changed. The last time I saw him was at the end of July. We had been quite physical before I left. So the way you're saying this, I would say that physical means intimate. Not a lot of people use that term. That's some term that you use. I left because he kept asking me for a lot of intimate favors, which I stupidly succumbed to and gave him. I think he used me. Okay, again, I don't know. Secondly, if you're in an intimate relationship where you are consensual, you're saying that you succumb to these things. Did you enjoy being intimate with him? And why did you not have a problem with it till you broke up, would be the question. Fair question. He promised to visit and see me there, but when he came, he never messaged me or saw me. He acted as though I was a stranger to him. On my return, he texted me to ask whether my classes had started. So to me, this is just a classic case of you anticipated more, you want more, you want a serious relationship, you want a monogamous relationship, you want someone that's all in because you're all in, and your feelings were much deeper than this guy's. And so you're finding ways to rationalize why you were in it, but you're also finding ways to put him down. And the reality is, don't blame a person for being who they are. Okay, this guy obviously isn't into a long-term serious relationship right now. Okay, the idea that it's been abusive, painful, and horrible, and it lasted 15 months, what was your role in that? Now, why did you stay in a relationship that you categorized that way? Did you find that to come to mind after the breakup or during? Okay, and then why would you be so engaged in meeting up with him again if the relationship was that bad? I noticed his behavior was totally different to before. He wasn't making any plans to see me or hang out. I was in shock because I suspected the worst. So right there, you're saying that You suspect the worst, which isn't a good thing. Unfortunately for me, he told me that he had started to see another woman when I was away. He was messaging the woman, or they were messaging him, and he didn't have the decency to tell me while I was away. As far as I can read, and this isn't detailed, this story, if you were not officially together, he doesn't have to say that to you. He doesn't have to tell you that. Secondly, this guy wasn't into the relationship as deep as you were. And if the relationship was this painful, this horrible, what are you chasing? What do you want to continue to meet with him for? Why are you continuously disappointed in him? He told you he's seeing someone else, which is honest. He has a new girlfriend. I'm finding this incredibly hard to accept. Well, that's where your issue is. That's something I could help you with if you want to do a live coaching. And before you can forgive, you have to accept. Before you can move on, you have to accept. This is the reality. He's seeing someone else. He was never very serious about our relationship the way I was. He was racist at times. He was hurtful to me at times. So this is the reality. You're not going to change that. I have blocked him since and told me the news in October. It was still painful what he's done. So what has he done would be my question. He wouldn't even meet to talk about what he did. Again, this would be unpacked in a live coaching session. What exactly would he did? Can you get to the nitty gritty? He just told me via text so that he didn't have to deal with me in person. So this is a big one for a lot of people, right? They broke up with me in text. They told me they were seeing someone else in text. The reality is a lot of people tell me I'm wrong on this, and I'm old-fashioned. I'm 40 years old. I'm not over the hill. But I've been around when there were times when we didn't have phones, right? So I'm not a big texter. I text people. But correct me if I'm wrong. Would you say that in America, let's just stick to America, would you say that 80% of communication is done through text? 70%? How much is done through live phone calls? So a lot of this idea that, breaking up over text or telling someone bad news over text, I get it, but on the flip side, isn't that how we communicate a majority of the time anyways? So why would it change? Now, if someone's been together 5 years and they live together, okay, you need to have a sit down. You need to have a face-to-face. You're in a long-distance relationship. You broke up. You haven't seen each other for a while. You're kind of in and out of contact, and they text you this. I don't have that big a problem with it. He's not a very nice person, she closes with. Well, in that case, are you better off without him? And what did you learn from being from this not very nice person? Can you filter better in the future? All right, we got some people on deck. 5 viewers, 3 likes. Crypto Cash. I'm with a tie too and made big mistake. I want out actually, but let it drag on many years. Crypto Cash. Oh my goodness. Well, send your story into writemac.com, WRITEMAC.com, and we can get to the bottom of that, Crypto Cash. And I'm very familiar with Thai culture, being that I've lived there for 11 years. I'm back on Cali soil. But if you want to talk about it, I'm here for you. And it's a great time to be Crypto Cash because cryptocurrency has never been better. Windy Dawn, what do you think of the new time frame? Because you were saying it's going to be harder for you. You like the late night time frame. I'm happy to see you live again. Just wanted to say hi and leave my like before I fell back to sleep because you work nights, right, Windy Dawn? Oh, Johnny, New Jersey's finest. Hope you're doing well, my friend. I hope things are getting better. You're sharing your pizza. We got a few more breakup stories on deck. Good to see a few of the people that have been on the show before with this different time start. Because I literally don't think I've ever had this time start, right? Some people are actually getting the notifications. Again, if you want to send your story into writemac.com and have me unpack it, I am going to be doing it regularly this week in the morning time, morning edition. I haven't set a time for the live stream yet, but I think it'll be between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. And once I dial that in, it'll be the same time every day for about an hour. Jersey Girl Jen, how have you been is the real question. You went through a lot when you first came to my channel. A lot. Mucho. Let's get in here. Any of you out there on the chat and the live stream, please feel free to ask any questions. And Crypto Cash, just to get back to you, because I haven't seen you on the channel before, I would definitely recommend you send your story in. And why aren't you, if you say, this is an interesting thing, I want out, actually, but it dragged out on many years. So why are you not capable of just sliding out of the relationship? Isn't that a good question? It's like, I really want out of this relationship. So what's keeping you in? Right? What's keeping you in? What's keeping you in that jail cell and you can't find the key? Or do you have the key? Good question. Right? Hopefully you made some good money off that crypto. That would allow you to move quickly. All right, next story. Yes. Oh, Johnny, I am back in California. This was sent in a while back, and this story was, this is why if you want to sit down and write your story, take some time with it. And actually, it's very therapeutic. I know that some people don't like to write. They don't feel they're good writers. That's okay. You're all capable of telling a story about something that happened in your life or a breakup, right? You don't have to be eloquent. You don't have to be grammatically correct on everything. But writing your story out from your phone, sometimes I can absolutely tell it's been quickly done. Emojis, periods, 5 times over. Just take the time, because this is your story. And if you actually want my help or my take, getting the information as clear as possible and as direct and specific as possible helps you. Helps you help me. Helps me help you. So I am in difficulty. Can you help me? I'm 53, ex is 45, 3.5 years together. I ended a relationship in July. Broke no contact twice. She goes hot and cold, has turned up on my walks. I missed the signals. I then copped on, asked for coffee, replied with, I don't make plans. Went cold. We worked together. I kept it professional, no personal chat. So you still haven't told me why you broke up. So that's a big piece of information we're missing here, dude. She rang me necessarily twice to talk work. I then called her house as my kids wanted to take her for a walk. Did that 3 times. She would talk, but awkward. Then when I would go to leave, she would try to continue a conversation. It sounds like she wants to get back together and she's interested in getting back together. You still haven't told me why you broke up. Then at last visit, refused coffee. We broke up because she wouldn't go anywhere with me. Said awful things on day of the breakup to push me away, and admitted she had abandonment issues after the last boyfriend left her. Okay, so bottom line is, if you have a girlfriend, if you have a partner, and they don't want to go places with you, that's a big deal, right? That's seems like a pretty big one. You haven't gotten specific on what this was, but I mean, staying in the house all the time, and why you know, I want to continue with no contact, as the last text yesterday from her was work related, but totally different and playful text, unlike her. I was going to wait for Xmas to send accountability letters saying I now understand and have become a better person, but not asking her back. So what's the purpose? What would be the purpose of sending an accountability letter and you're a better person? Are you teasing her? So to me, she's shown some light interest that she's still interested in you. She calls you. She visits you on walks. You're dug in on the fact that she doesn't like to go out enough. She has abandonment issues. But post-breakup, you're going to tell her, hey, I'm doing better. That, to me, that's rubbing it in her face. If you break up with someone and you're doing really well, or you meet someone new, don't call your ex and tell them. Don't send them a message and go, I'm so happy now, or I'm a better person without you. All right. What's the purpose of that? Ha ha ha. I mean, and you don't want to get back. Now, on the flip side, you call them up, you text them, you let them know, I'm doing so much better, I'm a better person, but you want them back. Don't send them that either. Be a better person, do well for you. You don't need a pat on the back from your ex. Okay? Check your intentions at the door. Now, if you run into each other 6 months, 8 months, 1 year down the road, 4 or 5 months down the road, and it comes up in conversation, you're like, wow, I'm doing really well right now, you know? Cool. You know, during the holiday, I just wanted to let you know, and you know they have abandonment issues, and you know that they're not really 100% on for the breakup. It's going to hurt them to hear that you're doing so well. Be mindful of that. Then to send with the letter an annual planner. She hates making plans. So she hates making plans, and you're still going to suggest how she does it. That bad move. So you're literally saying, I broke up with this individual for sound reasons. And here's the thing. Don't blame someone for being who they are. She's not a planner. You're not going to make her a planner by sending her a planner. Okay? She hates making plans. Leave that alone. You're not with her anymore. Why are you trying to improve her? An Xmas card? She hates Xmas. She hates Christmas, so I'm going to send her a card. To me, what are you doing? I mean, what's the purpose of... I don't want to get back with her. She has abandonment issues. I left her because she doesn't like to go out all the time. But during Christmas, I'm going to send her a Christmas card, even though she hates Christmas. So I'm going to send her a planner because she doesn't make plans. And I'm going to send her a letter telling her I'm a better person. What's the objective here, dude? And putting in the annual planner a New Year's Day entry. Coffee with, I guess this is his name. I won't say his name. Right? Which always told me to use. She told me I did nothing wrong, but she didn't feel the same way on the day I broke up with her. So you're saying you broke up with her, but she's saying she didn't feel the same way. It sounds like it was kind of a mutual breakup. Her family always said she'll always come back when left alone. I'm worried that if I leave it too long, she is gone. She used to always say... So here's the thing. Reading this, I'm conflicted, so you must be extremely conflicted. You broke up with her. You're happy with the reasons, but on the flip side, you still want to send a Christmas thing telling her how great you're doing, make some plans with her down the road. You're still assessing if I leave her alone, she'll come back. What do you want? Okay? And this is one of the things. It sounds to me like you want to keep a warm spot on the couch for her while... you lick your wounds, because what you haven't stated here, it's not fun being alone when you've been together for a little while and you miss her, but you know she's not right for you. Tell me I'm wrong on that. She used to always say, I like my own company. I would leave her alone. Then she used to ring me and say, come down for dinner. I also have abandonment issues, and I see it now. Okay, so that's something you can work out on your own. Okay, identify what I see in you, I see in me. A lot of times, people identify things in other people that they actually are evading in looking in the mirror. I wanted to say in the letter that I now understand she pushes people away because she can't commit and was hurt before, and I draw people closer I love when I find them, and it scares them off. So you're making generalizations. I would strongly suggest that you do a live coaching session with myself, or seek some sort of therapeutic therapy and get to the bottom of some of your own issues. You see, you're mentioning a lot. She has this issue, she has that issue, but then you're like, as an afterthought, I have issues too. Well, if I were you, get to the control panel and deal with your issues first. I was wondering if that letter acknowledging my issue and saying I understand her now and that I'm now getting counseling would help after a few more weeks of no contact, or should I wait for organic growth but could lose her if I wait? So right there, like, what are you losing? Number one. Number two, it's an extremely big opportunity for you right now to not be in a relationship. To not be in a relationship. And just work on yourself. Because you pointing out all these things about her is a reflection of you. I would not send the letter saying that you're better and you've realized all these things if you don't check your objective first. What's your intention in sending that letter? It doesn't sound like you really want to get back together. It sounds like you want her to change and you want you to change. You're not going to change her. I haven't seen anything where you wrote that she wants to work on herself. I'd highly recommend a live coaching session. Okay. Crypto Cash. Okay, I'll send my story. And I think it just came in, actually. So if you're comfortable okaying me to read that on this YouTube live stream, just give me an okay. Because I think it just came in. Let's check here. No, you can write it. You can write it there. Crypto Cash. You can write it there. This is probably going to be a long live stream. I haven't been on deck in a while. So I'll probably get to it today, Crypto, if you write that. Okay, no worries. Take your time with it. That's the best way. Congratulations on being one of the crypto winners. Jersey Jen says, things are going well. I finally went back to work after doing the whole mom thing for years, but now transitioning to having adult kids. How have you been, Mac? I am outstanding. Outstanding. Actually staying with my parents now as an adult. Jersey Jen. Not long term, just for a little while, but it's been good. But yeah, send me an email sometimes, Jersey. All right. Adams back. Nice message. Vower.tech. Thank you for that. Yeah, that's pizza joke never gets old. You back in the States. Okay. Jersey girl, what part are you from? Yeah, that's serious validation. Need to do that. So we got 8 on deck, 3 likes. I appreciate it. We have a few more stories. Let me get back to it. Okay. Hello, Coach. Thank you for your channel. I broke up with my ex about 15 days ago. It was a crazy relationship. It was up and down for 2 years. It doesn't help that COVID put us out of work for long periods of time. At first, it was nice spending more time together, but then fighting became really tough because there was no way to leave the house. So it felt like we would drag out arguments and disagreements for days and days. I'm 27 and he's 32. We met in a coffee shop where I worked and he was a regular. It was nice to get to know someone out of a dating app. Isn't that nice? A lot of people complain so much about dating apps. You actually met like you were in the 80s in a coffee shop, right? We started dating after knowing each other from the coffee shop for about 2 months. I always noticed him checking me out or making eye contact and smiling. We had this attraction that grew and grew. Well, eye contact's underrated. Are people aware of how powerful eye contact is? If someone's making eye contact with you, what are they thinking? Finally, we went out and it was great. We just clicked on everything. We even had similarities in our families. So it wasn't long before we moved in with each other. That was good. But then, as mentioned, the pandemic hit and we both lost our jobs. Sorry to hear that. And I had some savings and he really didn't. So that added some stress as I was paying for a lot of stuff where he was the one that made more money than me before. But I'd later find out he was in serious debt and was comfortable with that till he lost his job and the creditor started calling. Looking back, that stress really affected our relationship. Well, I mean, any outside things when you live together will affect your relationship. So finances, family members being sick. And this is the thing that doesn't get touched on in romantic comedies or movies. Shit happens in life. And if you live together for 2 years and you have a relationship, their problems become your problems. And sometimes you're not up for that. And one of the biggest things is you can't relate. So Doesn't sound like, no offense, but working at a coffee shop, you probably weren't making a ton of money. But I don't know where you got your savings from. Maybe you had a better job before. Maybe you had an inheritance. Maybe you had, there's a lot of people out there that have some kind of lawsuit they won when they, I had a client before that as a little kid, he was literally, as a baby, I think dropped out of a window. I'm not joking. This is dead serious. And the apartment building was somehow sued for the windows or something like that. And I think he was in his early 30s, and he had enough money to take care of him for the rest of his life. And he was given that money at 18. So sometimes, you know, someone working at a coffee shop, my point is, or someone doing what you'd say an average to low average paying job might have some money for some reason outside of that job. And so when you are in a relationship, and this is a big one, I could do a whole episode on YouTube about this. When you're in a relationship and you start to pay for someone's stuff or pay for their college tuition, pay their electric bills, pay their credit card bills, do it because it's your pleasure to do so. Do it because you want to. Do it because you can. Do it because you care. But if you have an inkling of, I'm going to need you to pay me back. If you have an inkling of, you better say thank you 100 times. I'm going to bring it up every time. If you have an inkling of, that's a lot of money, you're being reckless with your own funds, don't do it. Or be very clear up front, which most people don't do because love's in the way, intimacy's in the way, relationships in the way, right? It's a conflict of interest. They don't say anything. Oh, it's fine, it's fine. And then later on, they bring it up in an argument. You know, when I let you got, you borrowed $1,000 from me. Well, you know, I'll pay you back, right? Relationships, marriages, a lot of times people stay together because it makes it financially easier to rent a house, buy a house, to live life when you're sharing bills. Now, the interesting thing about that is it ever equal? Probably not. But it is a choice. He was stressed about that, and he would take it out on me directly. I could cope with that. He'd just blow up about small things, and I got tired of that. About 6 months ago, he finally got back on track and got a job he really likes and actually better pay. So he's worked out paying off his debt, but I feel like the damage was done. And even though he got a job, he's still an asshole sometimes. It's not really something specific he's done wrong. He's just an up and down, temperous person. Not sure if that's a word. I'm not sure if that's a word either, but I get your point. I, on the other hand, am a really calm individual, so it doesn't line up. He's thrown in my face recently that I need to find a better job, figure out my career path. This really hurt me as I supported him financially throughout his job loss. Well, I will mention this. The reason it hurts you is it might be a little bit true. So look in, you know, no one wants to be pushed, but you're 27 years old working at a coffee shop, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. But if it bothers you for someone to say that, is there something that you feel like you could be doing better? Is there something that you want to do a career path? Because the reason why that triggers you is there's some part of it that you feel is true. Okay? And it's not nice that he's throwing it in your face, but the reason it's bothering you, there's something true about it. You know, if he called you, you know what, you're a pencil, you'd go, that's nuts, because it's not true. And you wouldn't address it. You wouldn't fight over it. You wouldn't argue about it because it's just not true. See, when something's a little bit true to you, that's when you get triggered. I told him how soon he forgets. He told me he'd pay me back. See, I've heard this many times before. Someone throws it in the face in an argument. You owe me money. I get where you're coming from. And money can be tracked, right? You have a number on it. It's not like a favor, right? If you pay off someone's credit card bill and it was $2,582, you have an exact amount. You know the significance of that money. Doing a favor for someone, now that value is different. And so that's why money is very specific, and people will throw it in each other's face. Then we just didn't talk for a few days. I confronted him, and he told me, look, I don't think this is working. He said, I just don't have the same feelings for you. This crushed me, but over the last couple of weeks, I'm not sure what I'm chasing or hurting from. We didn't really have a good relationship. Bottom line is, you were together 2 years, you lived together, you had ups and downs. That's what you have with your family, right? That's what you have with your friends. You're connected, right? 2 years is a small achievement in the relationship world of the 21st century, right? So you've gotten through some things together, the pandemic, a lost job. There's a relationship here. Maybe now at this moment you're realizing it wasn't that great of a relationship, but you haven't mentioned serious abuse. You guys just don't line up together, and that's okay. I've actually never had a good relationship. This was the best. Well, we'd have to talk about that in a live coaching session a little deeper. My last boyfriend was distant, rude, and I believe may have been cheating on me. Well, I mean, now that you're not together, why would you, don't lend any energy or weight to the fact that you believe he was cheating on you. If he was or he wasn't, you're done. Distant and rude are two other things that you obviously are with someone that wasn't distant and rude this time, so you filtered in the right way to not to make the same mistake. I did just call him this week out of desperation for some male attention, just being honest. Well, I appreciate your honesty, and I think a lot of people do that when they break up, man or woman. He was distant and rude, but made a date to meet up this next week. So the old ex made a date to meet up this week, so some women are attracted to guys that are distant and rude, actually. Translation, asshole, right? I know this breakup was coming, but it still hurt, and I don't even want my ex back. Well, sometimes, but I know it's just a Band-Aid. And now I'm pulling myself in a situation to revisit a past relationship out of just wanting to be comforted and wanted. Well, you're being extremely honest and vulnerable, and this is why it's good to send in your story, because you're anonymous, and so you can be that way. I just want you to let you know this is extremely common out of a breakup of 2 years for someone to want to be comforted or wanted. And this is where you're saying, like, why am I chasing this relationship that we didn't line up well or we didn't get along? It's because at the end of the day, having someone over not having someone is a trade-off. And for all their problems and all their issues, oh, it just said we disconnected here, so I want to double check. Chris Puckett, what's up, buddy? How you doing, bro? He was distant. Now I'm thinking about canceling the date with the past ex. And just yesterday, my recent ex from 15 days ago wants to get coffee and sort out the apartment lease. I stayed, he left. And he owes me some money from when I was supporting him. But we've never discussed him paying me back. Okay, so this is one of those covert contracts you have where you believe he owes you money, but you've never said that he needs to pay you back. So you have to be honest with yourself. Is this just because you're breaking up and you're hurting? And by the way, you still have a right to bring it up. And I think you mentioned earlier, he said, oh, I'll pay you back. I'll pay you back. Work that out. Be direct. I just made payments on his debts, but I never said he'd have to pay me back. Now I'm wondering how to bring it up, and I'm nervous because I still have some feelings for him, but I don't want to get back together. So here's your choices. Here's your choices on something like that, right? Is you don't have to meet up. If you're nervous, you're uncomfortable, you're not sure, you don't have to meet up. So you can send a message in an email or a text and go, hey, I don't think it's appropriate. I don't think it's a good time for me to meet up. Nothing personal. But I do want to let you know that that money that I lent you and you told me you were going to pay back, I would still like that paid back. And the amount is XYZ, $2,582, right? Be specific. And it might be easier to get that out on a message or an email. Because it doesn't sound like you guys are going to get back together and you're hurting right now. You're a bit vulnerable. But you already contacted another ex. You describe this guy as a jerk to you. So if that's the case, I'm going to tell you something right now. The idea that someone owes you money from the breakup is just going to gain more and more power and more wind. And this is going to bug you more and more. So say something now. Polarize the situation. Get a yes or no. Get a commitment on it. And you could certainly sort out the lease over the phone or over text or over email and be very specific on terms. You know, when it comes to money, when it comes to terms, using email or message might be good because there's less emotion, right? Someone that's doing a business deal does not need to go to a coffee shop, right? And so if you're uncomfortable with that or that makes you nervous, you don't have to do it. You have the option to do it the other way and say, maybe we'll get coffee later on. You're not ready for it right now. You have that power. All right, let me check in with everyone. Has there been a problem with the live stream at all? Has it come in clean? It just told me that it went off the air for a little while I was talking. Let's see here. Looks like it. Just use small hiccups. That's it. Thanks, Chris. Hope you're doing well, bud. Happy holidays. Hendrik Kramer. Hello, how are you? What a great name, Hendrik. Mr. Kramer. Do you have some questions about your relationship? I do have 2 more stories to unpack here. But if anyone in the live stream has some stories about their relationship, please drop them. Get involved. Don't be shy. And on to the next one. As the dogs bark. Okay. Hey, Coach, your channel has really helped me through this breakup. I broke up with my ex 2 years ago. Then we got back together about 9 months ago. She basically called me out of the blue. We went out, had a good lunch and talk. Then from there, we started seeing each other again. Our main problem in the first breakup was her jealousy issue. Jealousy is one of those things that it's deep-seated. It stems from something before you, most likely. And some people feel validated by it, and that would be my first question. Is it something that they feel they're creating stories over and over again to validate their jealousy, or are they aware that they're a jealous person and they want to work on it? Those are 2 different things. Because, by the way, too, just like anything else, you choose what you want to accept in the relationship up front. And if you let that go, see, back together, we broke up 2 years ago. It doesn't say how long you were together. If you choose to let that go, that'll just become a narrative throughout the relationship. And some people, seems like females more than males, tend to be okay with jealousy. They don't like it, but they feel like, at least I know my partner's so into me, which seems kind of twisted. But there's some people like that. I've actually dated women before that wished I was more jealous because they feel like that shows care. And so, I don't know what her past relationships were like, but my question would be, does she see her jealousy as a problem, or does she see it as just her being loving, or is she creating narratives? This is the worst. Creating narratives, making up shit to support her jealousy. And that's when it's delusional. When you're explaining yourself for things you didn't do wrong or cheating you never did, okay? Those are the kind of relationships you need to walk out on quickly, because explaining yourself when you didn't do something wrong is extremely detrimental to yourself, and you have a choice in those situations. She told me I couldn't talk to other women at all. Well, I mean, if someone puts that out there, right? If someone goes, you can't talk to women at all in our relationship, okay? To me, there's certain red flags, man or woman in a dating scene, that just goes, okay, we're done. Like, You don't have to get up and walk out on the situation, but you need to digest that. You need to take that home. You need to play with it a little bit, and you got to go, this isn't going away. I can't talk to any woman at all. Now, if you kind of laugh that off, or you say, yeah, okay, you're accepting that. You're accepting that. That's a big one. All right. One of the big ones I would say to be wary of is if someone generalizes, all men are cheats, all women are liars. That's a one that might get brushed over. All men cheat, all women are, or if they define, well, women that really care are jealous. That's when you're creating a narrative to support your jealousy. Look out for that. And it's just not going away. She was always suspicious. She demanded I delete ex-girlfriends from my life and was just never-ending intense jealousy. Well, you broke up for the right reason. That's definitive. And move on and keep walking and don't look back. I found myself explaining myself way too much. Exactly my point. We eventually broke up after she accused me of having feelings for my second cousin because we were close over the years. See how that's the straw that broke the camel's back? Your second cousin that you talk to a lot and you're close to, she's creating narratives that you were together and you have feelings for her. And that was a place where you were like, this is just not acceptable. I wasn't going to argue over that. I just broke up. When we got back together, she apologized and said she got therapy that helped her realize that she was blaming me for her first breakup when her ex cheated on her and she didn't know. So I bought it hook, line, and sinker. Here's the thing. I don't think you bought it hook, line, and sinker. If someone goes and sees a therapist, you're 9 months out of the breakup, they address the reason that you broke up. The reason you broke up was the jealousy issue. She's saying, like, look, I was jealous. I've worked on that. That's about as good as it gets when you revisit things with an ex. And then you're just putting your heart out on a clothesline and you're taking love for the ride, right? Like, there's no guarantees. So if she said that, she said it in a way that you believed her, I'm okay with that. The first few months were really good. And my question would be, if I was talking to you in a live coaching session, I would just do a quick check of, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your trust? On a scale of 1 to 10, what was your attraction? Scale of 1 to 10, what was your connection? Because the jealousy thing's a big issue, right? Was everything else pretty good? That would be my question. Was the attraction high? Was the intimacy good? Was the trust high? Was your chemistry and connection really good? We were at our best. She didn't accuse me of anything. She even met with my cousin to apologize. See, that's big. That's her saying, like, I was wrong. I was wrong. Her idea, which was both awkward and good. I'm sure the second cousin probably didn't even know that was an issue if it was awkward. I think, though, even though it was awkward, it was good to let her do that. The last 6 months had been different. I actually work with a lot of women. Well, not a lot, but enough that I have a few female friends from work, and I regularly correspond with women. There's one lady at work that I know likes me, and she knows I don't like her in that way, but she always playfully flirts, and it's harmless because, trust me, I'm not attracted to her. I'm laughing because I get that. Okay, there's not a chance in hell I think she knows that. But being that she's fun and she's never crossed a line or made me uncomfortable, I'm cool with it. The question is your girlfriend cool with it? And that's one of those interesting things that I don't find harm in it, but everyone's definition of emotional cheating, which is a whole nother ball of wax, that's where that would line up in that category of emotional cheating, and people have their own definitions of what's right and what's wrong. Well, my ex got wind of it and just went bananas. Whenever we get in a couple's argument, it comes up, and I just got tired of it. So we broke up last week. I told her she still had issues, and I wasn't going to be her insecurity punching bag. Wow, great verbiage. And this is what happens a lot. You break up, you make up, and you break up again. The odds of breaking up again are very high. And people go, oh, how many people actually get their ex back or get back together? I don't know what the odds are. I don't know what the percentage is. I just deal with individuals with individual stories. And I can give you my feedback based on your story and individual situation. There hasn't been studies done Or there's a study out there from John Hopkins of 2,000 couples that says that, people get back these, there's how many billion people in the world, and we rely on studies based on relationships of 2,000 people. Give me a break. All right. If you have your breakup story, you have your situation, write it in. I'll give you my take on an individual basis. Don't generalize this stuff. Right. But overall, as I generalize in a weird way, overall, you're more likely, if you had a big problem that you broke up over, so let's just give one that's big out there, alcoholism. Your ex had an alcohol problem. They were an alcoholic, morning, day, and night. You broke up over it. You get back together a year later, 6 months later, 2 years later. Are they more likely than the average bear to relapse and have an alcohol problem again? I think overwhelmingly people would say yes. But you still take that chance, right? It's the same thing with the jealousy issue or any of these other things. They can go see therapy, they can do these things, they can work on it, and it could turn either way. Because those are soft spots in their character, and they're susceptible to doing the same thing again, just triggered by it in a different way. So, for example, she came to her senses about your second cousin, but this lady at work that obviously likes you, now she's got something that she's really got a hold of. Getting back to this. So we broke up last week. I told her she still had issues and I wasn't going to be her insecurity punching bag. Then yesterday she called me and told me she wants to go to couples therapy with a female therapist that worked with her mother and stepdad. I think it's a nice thing to do for some, but I really don't think I need to change. I'm not going to accept doing anything wrong, and I know she'll make me the bad guy somehow. Plus, I'm uneasy going to her therapist. It just feels like a setup. So right there, I can unpack that for you. Number one, if you do want to make this work and you believe in the idea of therapy, well, then choose your own therapist, all right? And tell her up front, if I don't like the therapist, that we are not going to continue just because it's someone you like. Number two, it sounds like you don't feel like you did anything wrong and you don't need to work on anything in a couples group. If you already have that attitude and it's the second time she's pulled, a serious jealousy card, maybe you have to agree to disagree and just move on. But you could do your own homework and find your own therapist, right, for couples. But couples therapy is one of those things, it's like, I agree with you. If I feel like I don't have a big problem, I don't want to go to a therapist planting seeds. And I've talked to some people that went to couples therapists that were males that felt like the female took the female side. Does that always happen? Probably not. Does it happen a lot? Probably yes. The fact that her mother and stepdad had a good relationship with this therapist, I don't think that's a good thing. So if you want to do the therapy thing, fine. You have complete ability to maneuver and get your own therapist for that. But it just sounds like you're checked out on the whole idea. Because at the bottom line, are you going to stop talking to this colleague at work that flirts with you and makes you feel good? And that's what it is. It's like, why do you allow the back and forth with this colleague at work? Because you don't see it as a problem, and it probably feels good to be liked. I told her no for now, but I'd think about it. My friend told me I want to make it work, then do it. Well, don't take your friend's advice on that. Listen, the jealousy thing hasn't gone, right? You have to be honest with yourself. Do you want to live with someone or be with someone where your freedom to have female friends or your ability to have someone at work that likes you, these kinds of things are going to come up again and again. You have to be sensitive to them. That's a sacrifice. Relationships are a trade-off. They're a negotiation. Is this one you're willing to make? For me personally, probably not. I'm a very friendly, outgoing individual. I wouldn't want to be with someone that's extremely jealous. I certainly wouldn't be explaining myself for my character and personality. That's the thing. I'm not the problem. I've been down this road before, but last night I had a weak moment where I missed her and I told her, I miss you, before bed. Then she responded with, does that mean we can see my mother's therapist? I wanted to get your opinion. What do you think? What would you do? Well, I never like to say what I would do, even though I just said what I would do if I was the individual in this relationship. But you have options here. You don't want to see the mom's therapist? I'm with you. Go find your own. Do your own research. Number 2, you miss her. You love her. That's what happens in breakups. It's a very soft zone. Even people that know they're definitive, they have their reasons, they broke up, they're dug in. The other person was wrong, they're right. It's black and white. In the most severe cases, it's so obvious why you broke up and you did the right thing for you. You still miss them. You still love them. You still send that miss you at bed. That's human. You're not a psychopath. You got feelings, dude. So when that comes up, that's okay. And this is one of those things that I would highly recommend doing a live coaching session with myself, or seek a therapist on your own. Seek a coach on your own to talk about this problem from your perspective on your own before you decide if you want to go to couples therapy. Really unpack it. Get a little deeper. Sending this story was a nice first step, but there's some things you're not revealing because people leave things out of the story. I could help you with that. So that would be my first step with that. But your reasons, see what happens is your thinking mind is challenging your feeling mind. But I think there's 3 different minds in the body. I think there's your head, your brain, there's your heart, your feeling, and then there's your gut. And your gut is actually almost like a combination of thinking and feeling, but a little bit more feeling. And when those all 3 are lined up, it is a beautiful thing in the decision world. It's gorgeous in the decision world. Have you ever had you made a decision about a job and it's just like head, heart, gut line up? That's nice. A lot of times in relationships, head, heart, gut don't line up week to week. But it sounds like here, head, gut say, don't deal with this jealous girlfriend anymore. It's going to bubble back up. And heart says, maybe I should go to the therapist. Sounds like 2 against 1. Spend a little bit more time on it. Allow yourself to be away for a little bit longer. And like I said, I'd say seek your own therapist or coach in the meantime. And get in touch with why you're having difficulties as an individual first. And that's really good advice in my opinion. Because a lot of times you go, well, I don't have the problem. I'm with you. But maybe how you're looking at it is a problem. Maybe you're leaving some things out. Maybe you're not seeing things as well as you think. And so, like I said, see someone as an individual. All right, let me check in with the live stream. I do have one more story left. Hendrik Kramer, thanks. I am from the Netherlands, just a listener. I have a good relationship, but I like your content. Thanks, Hendrik. I actually just had a client, I think my first client that I've had from the Netherlands. Seems like a great place. Amsterdam's always been a place I've been wanting to go to. Broke up with a girl that tried to make me jealous. Isn't that funny? That's one of those things, too, if someone's trying to make you jealous and you sense that, no bueno, no more. That's no win situation. What's up, Rob? Yes, it's been a while. Been meaning to send you an email, possibly. Guardian of the Gate. I thought it was a little bit early for you, though. That's a no-win situation when she says you can't talk to another woman. I mean, it's a definitive statement, too, right? There's certain things when people say something definitively that's completely unflexible. That's a big red flag. Feelings for a second cousin, that should be immediate breakup. Well, I suppose it's possible if you were in a royal family in the Renaissance era or the Middle Ages. Crypto Cash sent my story, just a very long story made super short. I'm just too easy and caring of a person. I never look out for myself ever, always help others over the years, mostly out of guilt. Well, let's unpack that mofo, Crypto Cash. Crypto Cash. Have you ever read 3% Man? Rob's a big fan of 3% Man book. I have some notes on my website for that too. Coach Corey Wayne. It gives good insight, worth a read. Thanks, I'll look at it. By the way, we live in Lake Tahoe, California now. Nice. Lake Tahoe. I haven't been there in a while. Keep Tahoe blue. I do have some friends that live over there. I'm not far from there actually right now. So beautiful, beautiful place. Probably extremely cold right now. Hope you're getting your snowboarding in, your skiing, I suppose. Let's take a look. I do have one more story on deck. But this has been nice to get back in touch with the live stream here. Some newbies, some old bees. And like I said, anyone listening at this point or listening to it later on, please let me know if there's a time that you'd like me to come on. Like I said, it's going to be this week all morning. So, all right. One more story here. This is a long one, actually. Let me just take a quick look at what just came in. All right, let me just ask, since you're on deck, Crypto Cash. Chris the Critic, yay, Mac is back. Yo. And actually, I am in the yay. Well, actually, I'm outside the yay area, Bay Area, right? Chris the Critic, I don't know if we've worked together before, but welcome. Crypto Cash, do you want me to read that story, that email that you sent me right now? Let me know, and I'll unpack that. I do have time. I do have the juice. I do have the energy. Feeling good to be back on deck. I've never shared this story to anyone. All right, like I said, just Chris the Critic. What was the name before, by chance, if you could tell me? If not, you want to stay incognito. 007. Okay, so you want me to unpack it? That's funny. Okay. Right. Okay, we're gonna get into Crypto Cash's story, and this is gonna be interesting because, like I said, I've lived in Thailand, so I'm very familiar with. This will be a long story. Has now continued on 8 years. Where do I start? Very, very long story. Short for now, just an overview. Well, I'd suggest doing a live coaching, Crypto Cash, if you want, and then you can unpack more details, because obviously there's a reason you don't want to share all the details. Went to Thailand, fell in love with the city of Chiang Dao. I'm assuming, I don't know Chiang Dao, but I'm thinking it might be a different Chiang. I actually lived in Chiang Mai before, so met a nice Thai woman, and the euphoria of the beauty of Thailand and the excitement of the moment. I started a coffee house. Oh no, you started a business over there? And also build a house in the mountains. Happened so fast. And after 3 years of going back and forth, letting this sweet woman run everything for me, I have to say she was very trustworthy and never asked for anything. The house and the coffee shop was my idea. Good for you. If you have the money, it's extremely economical compared to the States or California or Lake Tahoe to run a coffee house and build a home in the mountains. So go for it. Long story short, I realized Thailand wasn't for me. Yes, I rushed. I finally decided I didn't want to go back anymore, and I really wasn't in love with this woman. But after coming back to the USA for a while, I missed her for obvious reasons. Why did you miss her, Crypto Cash, if I may ask? And decided to bring her here on a fiance visa, which was a big mistake. Dun, dun, dun. Yes, I married her for all the wrong reasons. Also brought all her dogs here. I'm just too nice, but okay, so first of all, I'd have to ask you a few questions. I don't know if you want to answer this on the live stream, so just let me know if you don't want to get into that. We could do a live call too, actually, in the future. But from what I'm seeing, on a scale of 1 to 10, what was your intimacy level before the fiance visa? So we've established that you really like Thailand. It was cool. You liked going back and forth, but you just realized Thailand wasn't for you. It's probably a little too laid back, maybe. And if you were in the mountains and stuff, I would have suggested go to Phuket. I mean, whatever. I mean, I'm biased. I like the beach and I like the tropics. So you establish that you don't really want to live there and do that, but you're okay with the house in the mountains and the coffee house being run by the girlfriend of 3 years going back and forth. You agree. I missed her and decided to bring her on a fiance visa. So that was a turning point in the relationship. The relationship changed at that point from long distance, and you were comfortable with the distance. You were taking care of her, so she was okay with things. And what you associated in the relationship with her was Thailand, which in the beginning was a good place for you. It's almost like a vacation with a girlfriend. So you do the fiance visa because you miss her, and you married her for all the wrong reasons. So what were the wrong reasons that you married her? And like I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, what was the intimacy at that point? What was the connection at that point? And what was the trust at that point? I'm just too nice, but now feel sophisticated. But how now feel sophisticated? Is that what you're trying to say? And we were just so opposite in everything. Well, I'll just tell you, knowing Thai culture and living there for 11 years, it's a different culture, completely different culture, and there's no way around that. And there's a lot of things I like about the culture, but there's some things that if you grew up in California, you'd think, why would you ever do that? And I think if someone's raised in their home country, it's much different than being someone that immigrated over here when they were a child and assimilated into a society. So it's much different in that way. Then she wanted kids. I said no. So when she went home to Thailand, I called her and said we need to go our separate ways and divorce so we can find someone that wants. So we or she can find someone that wants kids. She agreed, and I finally felt a large relief and weight lifted off my shoulders. So did you give her the coffee house and the home in the mountains? Just curious. I was preparing to send divorce papers to Thailand, and 2 months had passed, and I was alive again and happy we both could live the lives we really wanted. Dun, 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 dun. But out of nowhere, she flies back to the USA without even telling me, showed up at my home again. Okay. I think she only came back from missing her dogs, not me. Well, you know what? That's a complete, honest possibility. Some people are very attached to their dogs. So that's not out of the realm. Now, the idea that she didn't give you a heads up when you're married and you've had regular communication, I'd have to ask you some more questions about that. Now still in a dead end relationship and we can't get her out of our life. I'm not mean. So she lives with you now. So she showed up 2 months ago. She lives with you in the name of seeing her dogs. And you feel like you can't send her back to Thailand and get divorced now, even though she agreed to it. And then, I mean, what are the specific problems? What are the issues? Would be my question. Maybe you don't want to unpack that. Maybe you want to talk in a live coaching session. Now still in a dead end relationship and can't get out of her life. I'm not a mean person, so I just can't kick her out. Well, I get that. I mean, it's a different country. She probably doesn't have the money to just get a place in Lake Tahoe. So, I mean, just like America, and you're married in America, I mean, is she waiting? Let's be honest here. Let's be frank. Is she waiting for you to offer her some kind of severance, marriage package of money? Has that come up? That maybe you have to buy some, does she want to stay in America? I mean, what is it that she's looking for by staying? What is she telling you she wants to stay with you? She is a sweet and loving person, but we have no love, nothing in common. Also, she's a very, very immature person. I know completely what you mean about that. Won't go into detail, but I'm still stuck and want my life back. Still more of this story, but that's the basics. Alternative spirituality. Nice. Okay, good to hear from you, bud. Northern Chiang Mai. Okay, I lived in Chiang Mai before. The immaturity thing, and If I may ask, what's her age and your age? If you're not comfortable with that, it's okay. It's just a cultural difference in the way you look at the world. And Thai culture is present moment. A lot of Thai culture, not everyone. But be in the present moment and don't get serious. You might have heard that term many times, Crypto Cash. Why are you so serious? Why are you serious sometimes? They like to play, they like to joke, and they don't like to think too much. It's and the other, what's interesting about language is terms that are used really say a lot about the culture. And one of the things is the translation in Thai for stress is "mai kit mak." Don't think too much. Like, don't stress. So literally, we have a word called stress. It's not the same as thinking too much, right? We would say those are two different things. But for Thais, thinking too much is stress. Keep it simple. Right? Okay. Yep, I understand. I understand where you're coming from. Like I said, if you want to do a live coaching session sometime, I could help you unpack that and get to the bottom of some more things if you want to book one. And my hours have changed. They're much more friendly to the United States, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And that, probably in the moments that you were visiting Thailand and in that culture and that atmosphere and environment, it was nice. It was refreshing for her to be in the present moment and take things light. But you probably can't have as deep of conversations, and you just don't have that connection. And living together is a different thing. So, like I said, my question is, what is she looking for? She must sense that you don't want to be with her long term. What is she looking for? Does she want you to give her some money before she goes back, or does she want to stay in the States but not be with you? I mean, now she has citizenship if you got married over here. So, like I said, if you don't want to talk about that, we could certainly do that in a live coaching session. And that goes back to your, age difference. It's, it's part of life. It's part of relationships. When you have that big of an age gap, it's fun in the beginning. It's great in the beginning. But over time, there's issues with it. You're against the odds to stay together long term when your age difference is that much. And for men, especially, they'll say, well, I look young. And I get it. Or I'm in great shape. They usually tell me that all the time. I'm okay with that. I believe you. I agree with you a lot of times. I'm just saying that the larger the gap is on the age difference, the more of that looking at the world, seeing things a certain way, having certain conversations isn't there. And it gets annoying, it gets irritating. And the younger person in the relationship a lot of times is more, if it's a woman, which more times than not it is, they're more flighty. They're more up and down. And if you're older, you're more dug in, you're more cemented in who you are. You're more stable. And so this creates dynamics in the relationship that aren't very favorable for a long-term relationship. And so this isn't just her. This is the age difference, the culture difference. And I appreciate the fact that you consider yourself a nice person, right? And that's something you don't want to lose about yourself. So you're conflicted by not being into the relationship anymore. And hurting her feelings. But I would ask, she wants something. She wants something. Crypto cat, and what is it that she wants by coming here 2 months ago? She wants to stay in America. She wants to be around her dogs. Because you've already told her that you wanted to get a divorce before. So when you bring that topic up again, what is it that she wants? Did he get married because he felt like time was running out? It doesn't sound like that. It sounds more like being that this, going back to the story, that things were good for a few years. Things were really good. They were in a long-distance relationship. that worked. And then he didn't like visiting Thailand anymore. And this is one of those classic cases where a long distance relationship worked really nice. They saw each other regularly. She got a coffee house and a home in the mountains. He got a regular vacation home. And in those bursts of time together, it was really nice. And then he just realized Thailand wasn't for him. And he didn't want to go there regularly anymore. And he missed her, right? He didn't miss Thailand anymore. And he thought it'd be nice to come over. And things, here's what's different. She's not as applicable long-term for long periods of time in your culture or in your space, and you had never dealt with that before. So you were, in those short times that you were seeing each other, I don't know how long you were going to Thailand for, 1 month, 3 months, 4 months at a time, but you weren't there full time all the time. Now living together full time, you realize this just doesn't work. We're just too different. Okay, so you did feel, okay, so Chris is right. Well, I felt obligated to marry because 90 days were running out, and if I didn't marry, she would be forced to go back. Yes, rush that. Okay. For your particular case, you knew her for 3 years prior, though. So this wasn't one of those things where you went over to Thailand for a couple of weeks and got a couple pina coladas and Mai Tais on the beach and were just whisked away by someone, and it was just lust only. This was a relationship that was built on something that you knew about her. So I wouldn't say it was only that, right? I'm going to give you a little bit of credit on this one. 3 years of seeing someone regularly, and you mentioned that you felt she was trustworthy. It's not you just being weak or too nice or just felt like time was running out. This is an individual that you had vetted in a lot of ways, right? Michael Figueroa, how you doing? I got a question. My ex broke up with me in February. Just last week, she texted me that she wanted to mail me back my Xmas stocking. I got them in the mail today. What does this mean? I don't know. I need to know more to the story, Michael. Have you done a live coaching with me before? I have a few Michaels. I don't know the last name, though. Definitely wants to get your attention. I would say that, Michael. I mean, if this is out of the blue, just last week texted me she wanted to mail me back my Xmas stocking. Did she LOL or did you LOL? I got them in the mail today. What does this mean? I mean, it depends on the person. It depends on how you broke up. I mean, she could have been rummaging through her Christmas stuff and realized she still had your stocking and sent it back and could be completely innocent. But at the same time, she's thinking of you. I mean, what do you think it means? Because you know her better than I do. And then, like I said, I have a few different Michaels I've dealt with in the past, so I don't know if I know your story from before. So if you want to do that, refresh my memory. Some of my clients come on the live stream and I go, oh, yeah, okay, because you know I remember a lot of stuff here. Chris the Critic, how are you doing after converting from, what was the name before? Animal spirituality? Or no? What was it? Alternative spirituality. I'm thinking of animal because you said you work with animals, I think, in the animal industry of some sort. All right, I do have one more story. We are 1 hour and 18 minutes in. This has been going really good. Thanks for contributing, Crypto Cash. I appreciate you putting yourself out there. And Chris the Critic, Michael, Rob IS. We got one more story I haven't unpacked yet, but this has been good. It's been nice. Real nice. How's the sound quality so far? Any questions outside of that? Any suggestions on a time change? Let me know. All right, one more story. Hey, Mac, love the channel. Here's my story. I got caught up in a serious relationship about 6 months ago. It went from couple dates to moving in together in a month. It was a blur looking back. We had 2 quality dates and then some really good sex, and it had been a while for both of us. So, just like I like to say, being neglected as something makes it a lot more special, makes it a lot more appealing, makes it a lot more quenching. And what do I mean by quenching? Have you ever quenched your thirst? Have you ever been in the desert and got a glass of water afterwards and it tasted so good? My point is, if it had been a while in a relationship, it had been a while since you had intimacy, it carried more weight. So I guess that added to things. I'm 35 and she's 30. I had been celibate for 3 years plus. She had only, wow, that's a long time, but good for you. You must have your reasons. She had only one serious relationship before me. I'd ask, why is that? We were smitten from the get-go. We also had a lot in common. We love books. We love the history of Roman Empire. Excuse me. Roman Empire. We both love our cats. Okay, those are quirky things to be in common, which is good. Things were going great. She moved into my apartment about 5 months ago, about 1 month ago after dating. Then after that first month, I noticed some things that didn't feel right. She'd just go out at night for long periods of time, not tell me where she was going. I'd ask, and it would always be, oh, I went for coffee and to read. Well, I mean, is she a coffee drinker and a reader at night? Did you notice that when you were first together? I thought that was weird because she drank tea in the morning. Okay. Then as these random coffee and reading nights went on, one day I followed her. I was just curious. You had that gut feeling, right? I thought it was weird because she drank. I really didn't think she was cheating. That actually never crossed my mind. It didn't. Then as I followed her, I got this gut feeling something wasn't right. She did pull up to a coffee shop, but the shop was actually out of our area. It was about 20 or 30 minutes away, depending on traffic. That being said, it looked cool and even had a sign that read "Cat Lovers Welcome." So I decided to wait it out in a bit and see what was going on. Then I caught myself after 30 minutes of playing on my phone and watching the coffee shop. I felt like, am I staking out my girlfriend? ? You are, actually. Even if you're curious, you are staking her out. Great movie, by the way. Another stakeout with Emilio Estevez, Richard Dreyfuss. At the moment, I decided to go in and just tell her I was curious this whole time and followed her over, and maybe she'd be excited to see me. I'm guessing she probably wasn't. Well, I went in, and I was surprised to see she was there with two guys and a girlfriend of hers that I had met before, whom I thought was weird and was currently in an open relationship. Well, the fact that one of her girlfriends is in an open relationship, I wouldn't get too alarmed by that, but that definitely might be on the horizon for who you're with, because if she spends a lot of time with that person, they're encouraging. People want you to do what they do. They want you to feel what they feel. So the friend looked shocked when she saw me. Then the two guys just looked clueless, as if whom was I. She greeted me with an awkward smile and a half-ass hug. Then I thought to myself, something's not right. So I sat down. I told her I was in the neighborhood and saw her car out front. Total lie, I know. Within 10 minutes, one of the guys left abruptly. See, to me, I've talked about this before. If your girlfriend is hanging out with a guy, or a guy comes up to her in the mall or a cafe or out in the street, whatever, and they know that person, to me as a man, it's proper for that guy to make eye contact with you and say, hey man, what's your name? My name's Mac, and shake your hand, or make a effort to show you some sort of respect, and to also show you, hey, I know you're together, or Jen's a friend of mine, whatever. But to acknowledge. If they don't acknowledge you, or they just, like this guy just left abruptly and doesn't really say hello to you, that's a huge fucking red flag. Okay? Doesn't mean she's been cheating with him. It just means that she's hanging out with guys that are looking to hook up with her. Whether she hooks up or not, it's a bad, bad thing. Okay? And like I said, in a live coaching session, we can unpack these situations. And this isn't one of those things in a live coaching session. Whoa, Oh, this is about, no, we need to ask some questions and answer some questions and get to the bottom of it. But in most cases, just think of it yourself. When you're truly friends with a woman or a colleague or your cousin or your sister or something like that, and you meet a guy that they're seeing or they're with, do you go out, hey, shake the person's hand or acknowledge them, show them that you recognize them in that role? I got a drink and talked with them. All the while, there was something off, so I left. But I staked out the scene for a little longer. So gut feelings can be wrong. Okay? Intuition can be wrong. But in the presence, see, this is what's different. In the presence of other human beings, it's more right. Because you're picking up their energy. You're picking up different frequencies. If you're at home alone and you just watched a TV show or a movie on someone cheating and you suddenly think your ex is cheating and there's nothing lined up with it, that can be fabricated, right? When you sit down with your girlfriend, her friend, and two random guys and you get this awkward feeling, you're picking up something. Just like dogs pick up energy and cats pick up energy. They're all thinking to themselves, does he know? Then I saw the guy actually leave with her in the car. I followed them, and she just dropped him off at another apartment complex. So that night I asked her about that group. She let me know that she didn't believe I was just passing by. I admitted I had followed her. She got really upset about that and refused to tell me who these guys were and why they met. I mean, part of it is, I understand if she's worried about being followed, but at the same time, if you're her boyfriend, you have a right to ask those questions. Those are legitimate questions that aren't just jealousy questions. We went to bed not talking, and the next morning she was fine, even got me a coffee from my favorite place. She then joked, stop following me, creep. Just trust me and I'll trust you. Okay, if you're okay with that. She wrote me a letter later that morning. She wrote me a letter later that week saying that I was special for her and she was very happy to be living with me. I felt good. So she specifically said she likes living with you. Interesting. I felt good about that. And as the months went on, she went for coffee and reading about 3 to 4 times a week. And I trusted her. Then about 2 weeks ago, I decided to drop in on the coffee shop as I was in the area. I knew she was there. It was a surprise, not a stakeout. And this time there were 2 girls and one of the same guys. This time the guy really gave me ill body language. I felt he didn't like me there, and my girlfriend was looking at me with coldness as if I wasn't her boyfriend. So again, I would need to talk to you in a live coaching session to dig in a little bit and get your character about this. You know, I'd ask the question, has this happened to you before? Have you had suspicions of past exes like this? What are you picking up on specifically? But where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's definitely smoke here, dude. That night, she told me not to follow her anymore, that she had a private life, that she kept private and liked to keep our relationship separate. I didn't like that, so I asked some tough questions like, who is that guy? Why do you want to keep me separate from this group? Those are legitimate questions that do need to be answered, especially this time. She began to tear up and said he's her ex from a long time ago, that they still are close, and she gets something from their relationship that she can't explain. Well, I think you mentioned earlier that she only had one person she was with before. Do you still believe that? And would you ask, is this the only person she was with before? I don't know. I didn't know how to react. I said, look, this doesn't seem fair to me. Kind of a weak response, to be honest. She then said, I'm okay if you want to have an open relationship. I said, so does that mean so does that mean you're in an open relationship where I was seeing this guy? She said no, but then walked away. Just ask her directly, has she been sleeping with this guy? And look her in the face. I've had a client before, and I don't say this woman speaks for all women, but she was cheating on her husband. And I'm not going to get into the reasons. And she said, I'll never tell my husband, but if he asks me directly to my face, I will not lie to him. Now, not everyone's like that, But a lot of times you're evading the direct question. You're going around it too. So does that mean this? So does that mean that? Ask directly. Look her in the face. Go, are you sleeping with this guy? And if you have good intuition, you can see in the face and the eyes. If she looks away when you say it, ask the question you want the answer to most and look in her eyes when you ask her. I asked the same question again, and then she wilted. Yes, and she says his name, and then I sleep together sometimes, but my feelings for him are different. I told her that wasn't okay with me. We argued some more, and she left. Now, 2 weeks later, she hasn't come back to get any of her stuff, and she's only texted me twice, telling me she needed time to figure things out. Then her friend contacted me and told me to just give her space, and also told me that open relationships are something I should consider. Then her friend contacted me and told me to just give her space. Why is her friend contacting you? And number two, her friend's, of course, an advocate of open relationships because that's what she does. Okay? So good for you. Kudos. You're in an open relationship. I'm okay with that, but I don't operate that way. She also went on to tell me that they had an intimate relationship in the past. See, this is when you really have to address friends, and she's probably not going to get rid of this friend or anything like that, but she's also influencing her too. And this is where friends get a little hairy, not literally, but you know what I mean. This is when, well, her friend said this, her friend said that. This is going to be a part of the equation, it sounds like. So do you want to be a part of this triangle relationship? I didn't know how to respond to this, so I just hung up. I texted my official ex 2 days ago and let her know we are done. No response. Her stuff is still here. I've got no response and I still love her. What's your take on this? I thought we had a lot in common, and now I've come to realize she's been lying about everything. Well, I don't think it's everything, but it's a lot of important stuff she's lying about. It doesn't sound like she's very experienced in relationships. You've already established that she's sleeping around. And she thinks it's okay. And her friend thinks it's okay. So what do you want? You can be in an open relationship. I wouldn't judge you for that. There's a lot of guys out there that say, oh, that's cool, man. You cake and eat it too. Can you deal with that? Doesn't sound like you're in for it. Are you going to be able to talk her out of being in an open relationship or seeing her friends for coffee and a read up and flirt session? She's been doing it for a long time. These are where the tough decisions come in. Right? This is where the decision comes in, like, hey, where's your power in the situation? Yeah, you're going to miss her. You're going to miss the intimacy. It's a trade-off. Do you want to try being in an open relationship? Again, I wouldn't have a problem with that. It's hard for a lot of guys, though. It sounds cool. Like the guy's like, that'd be great for me. Are you okay with someone else taking your girl down every once in a while? You showing up to a coffee shop and looking like a stranger? Oh, who's that? Oh, that's my boyfriend of a couple years that I live with. Sorry, I never introduced you. What? Right? To me, if someone's got a best friend, even if I don't care for them, you better, I mean, you're not better, but isn't it natural that you introduce me? To me, when you're in a relationship with someone, right? When you're in a relationship with someone, they should be proud to introduce you. They should want to introduce you to their friends and family members. They should want to invite you to the things they want to go do. Now, there's a time for private time. I get it. I'm the same kind of person. I like private time too. But there's got to be some sort of balance. If she's going to those coffee shops 2 or 3 times, she should be inviting you once a week to those. To me, you're on 2 different playing fields. And what I don't like is that she knows she's done something wrong. She knows she was holding back something that would hurt you. She knows that you wouldn't be okay with that. And she comfortably lied for a long period of time. That's dangerous in a relationship. All right, let me get into the live stream. Closing thought on that one is, you got the choice. Open relationship, not an open relationship. Trust her in the future, don't trust her. Right? But I don't think you're going to change the circumstances. Well, I felt obligated to marry because, okay, 90 days, forced to go back. Yes, rush that. I'm doing great. Yes, good memory. Finally over my ex. Took 3.5 years. Well, better now than later. Chris Puckett, thanks for the $4.99. I appreciate it, bud. I'll go get some street tacos down the street. Laugh out loud because I thought it was so random we broke up because she wanted marriage soon and I wasn't ready yet, but I wanted to get married, just not now. She texted me in April, I miss you. All right, well, she misses you. I didn't text her, I miss you back, but asked how she was doing, and she seemed bitter since I didn't hear back from her since April until last week. She did say she was taking out our Xmas stuff and found the stocking and thought to give it back. God, Michael, did you do a coaching session? Your name looks really familiar. I'm thinking you're the one that was married for like 15, 20 years. And then you had a relationship after that. But this isn't the same one that you're sending a story about. I think, Michael, though, reading between the lines, she wants your attention. She's putting out a feeler. She's being passive-aggressive in some ways. And if you're interested in exploring it, go for it. Have a discovery mission. Call her up. It's been a long time. How you been? How's the holidays going? Touch base. What do you want, Michael? Are you interested in touching base with her, or do you have no interest in ever getting back with her? I mean, what would be your intentions? The Scarlet Letter. There it is, a private life. When things on the down this road, it's usually never works. Well, I mean, he had that gut feeling. He did the stakeout. There was something there, but I don't think I've ever witnessed that where I've walked in on a girlfriend or someone I'm seeing, and they're with someone else, and the other person just gives you the motion or body language like, oh, who's this guy? I have had where I was seeing someone, dating them, and they invited me to, we were seeing each other for like a month. It was going well. But we weren't official, and invited me to some friend's birthday party at a bar restaurant. And she got really drunk. And there was a guy that was all over her. And that pissed me off. That was a huge red flag. And I just confronted her afterwards the next morning and just said, you ever invite me to something like that again? We're not officially together. But, well, that was just a friend of mine. I'm like, yeah, but he's grabbing on you, hugging you. You didn't introduce me to him. You didn't, I know something's up with that. If you want to do that because we're not official, that's cool, but we won't be talking again or going out again. Never happen again. Be upfront about it. All right, folks, any closing questions? An hour and a half. This has been good. It's been good to catch up. I'll be back on deck tomorrow for sure. Maybe an hour earlier. But I hope there's definitely some different people on right now from the different time zone. Rob, I'm glad you were able to transfer over to the morning. I figured you sleep all day. Chris Puckett, always a pleasure. Chris the Critic, thank you so much. Crypto Cash, looking forward to connecting on a possible live coaching session if you want. I could definitely shed some light on your situation in a variety of ways, being that I lived in Thailand for so long also. Oh, Johnny, it was good to hear from you, bud. Wendy Don, thank you. Todd Whitmore, G Money, Justin Brown, always a pleasure. I reached out to her to grab coffee and catch up. She replied at some point, but I'm busy with work, so I just left it like that. I try to feel her out, but her response seems angry and bitter. Well, Michael, send your story into writemac.com so I can get a little bit more specific on what's going on, or book a live coaching session. We'll get deep into it. This is a relationship you do or do not want to revisit. Let me know that, and then tell me how you broke up, because that's at the core of it, right? Right on, Justin. You rode the whole time, beginning to end. I need to know more to the situation, Michael. Like, what are you chasing here, and why is she playing this little game? But women do that. I know because I have women clients that will actually tell me that they actually want someone back, but they want to make them work, or they don't want them to see, well, I feel this, this, and this. Did you tell him that? No, I didn't tell him that. I told him I was fine. I told him I was busy. So to me, you know her better than I do. I definitely wouldn't, follow up and go, let's get coffee again. Leave the door open. But was this a relationship you wanted to revisit? That's the real question. Or are you just lonely right now? Another question. All right, folks. It's been good. It's been grand. It's been great. But it's curtains.